change my reading habit almost immediately and overnight. The thing that I have to start doing is start asking questions and get over my linear reading habit and that passive reading habit where I just read from left to right. I hardly ask any questions. I do not use the power of conjunctions. My brain is not identifying the general and specific information. I'm just reading like a storybook, right? We want to break that approach completely and rewire our brains to ask a lot of questions while reading. Use general and specific, use the power of conjunctions to completely understand the passage with 100% clarity. And then we'll see that the questions are going to be ridiculously easy because we know exactly what the passage is about, right? And apply these ideas next time by yourself when you try out the next passage, right? So, the number one thing that I can recommend to break that linear reading is as an experiment for a few days, for a 3 day, 5 day project, why don't I start with the last paragraph? Why don't I completely reverse my pattern of reading? And this is not mumbo jumbo. As long as you're asking questions, as long as you're alert and aware and have high concentration, this will work great, right? Because I just want to shake up my process because for so long I've been reading passively, so it'll require a little jolt. So starting with that jolt is let me start with the last paragraph and start reading it, right? And I read this, a third reason. The moment I read this, right, uh, the art of asking questions has started. Man, because the moment I look at this, a third reason, my brain, if I'm making even a minor deduction, is telling me that there are two more reasons. So if I ask you, I'm zooming in on the last paragraph right now. I only read this much, right? And this is what I mean by making deductions, being a detective, right? I did not even read the full sentence. I said, I noticed what can I deduce from only this much, right? So when I look at third reason, my brain, and I'm sure your brain did that also immediately. If you stop and ask a question, that there are going to be two more reasons. Then automatically the next question becomes the reason for what? What is the reason that what are the reasons for what are we discussing, right? So I just let me go back to the passage. Let's say I am skimming and scanning right now. A third reason is that geographic explanations usually depend. Okay, so we're talking about geographic explanations. Maybe I am just jumping back to the previous paragraph. I'm not interested in reading the details because remember in the beginning I want to find the main idea. So another reason for reflex rejection of geographic explanations. Okay, great. If nothing else, this term is repeating. So it is the passage has to do with geographic explanations. Again, the next question automatically your brain will raise is that explanations for what? We'll come to that in a second. So there is another reason here. There is a third reason. There is another reason. So maybe this is the second reason because there are total three, right? Let me go further back. Several reasons may underlie this widespread but nonsensical view. One reason. So uh, let me get back to my. So even before I've read maybe six sentence, not even six sentences, three, four sentences, I already have a structure going for this passage. I have one reason, I have another reason, I have a third reason, right? So in the second half of the passage, there are three reasons given for something. And now if I start like going into the details, I'll figure out very quickly, okay, what are the reasons for and this maybe this paragraph or this sentence tells me very quickly another reason for reflex rejection of geographic explanations. So these three reasons are reasons for why geographic explanations are rejected. Are we okay with the idea? So the moment I read a little bit, I deduce as much as possible and I ask questions. The advantage of that is I haven't read too much. I will not get lost in the details and I've already got an idea for three paragraphs, a map of three paragraphs. And I've barely spent 15 seconds. I've spent time in maybe explaining this idea and communicating this idea, but I've barely spent seconds with the passage, right? So if you can get it to this level of asking questions and interpretation, you will see that such a passage, a 500 word passage, including the questions, can be done in 3 4 minutes, like, and like a breeze, because it will also make more sense rather than passive reading, right? So I hope this makes sense so far. um let me go slowly. uh, and okay, take me. Several reasons may underlie this widespread but nonsensical view. So, once again, I see a pronoun, I ask a question, or otherwise, also, once again, if you stay with the statement, see a pronoun, ask a question is a rule that we follow while reading. So, underlie this widespread but nonsensical view. What is the nonsensical view? Because later I also read that the geographical explanation is being rejected. So maybe that's the view, that geographical explanations get rejected. The author thinks it's a nonsensical view to do what? To reject the geographical explanations. But even if I don't know, I know the answer is going to be in the previous paragraph. What? So the question that I raise is based on the sentence that I'm reading. It's not a magical scale. It's not that I have required some extra training. I am getting the question from the sentence that I'm reading. So it says, underlie this widespread but nonsensical view. So let me go back to the previous paragraph, right? So notice how, as I'm asking questions, I'm going backwards and it's still making sense to me. Now, obviously, if you're completely a beginner reader, this might feel odd, but this is not the if but if you're a course member, then we have slowly come to this point, right? We've already looked at main idea, we have looked at general specific hundreds of times, we have mastered conjunctions, we've looked at pronouns, slowed down in various different sessions and videos as such, right? So for those people, it'll be like, yeah, I know what's going on. But if you're looking at for the first time, it might feel like, yo, this is too much, but it's not. It's just looking at a little piece of data and deducing a little. And remember, these are the early few seconds as I do this, because I am going to read the whole passage as well. But as I get the main structure, you will see that getting the rest of the passage is going to be very, very easy. So this widespread but nonsensical view. So maybe I go back a line in the previous paragraph, but many scholars do react to any explanation invoking some geographic role by denouncing geographic determinism. So some scholars, and I want to keep it simple, scholars denounce geographic determinism. Denounce is a negative term. That means they criticize or they don't believe, or as I read earlier, they reject geographic factors or explanations, right? Okay, so now I've read very little, but I've got a picture that the author is saying that scholars, some of the scholars do not understand or do not accept geographic explanations. They reject it or denounce it, which the author thinks is stupid. Then he gives, there are several reasons that they under why this view exists. Why do scholars reject geographical determinism? So bang, I've got an answer for the second half of the passage, because we started at the bottom and now we are here. That this whole discussion is about why geographical explanations get rejected, right? So I hope you're getting the idea that whatever I'm reading, the question that I'm raising for to activate my active reading, because as I'm asking questions, a lot of things are happening. I am looking specifically for a piece of information. My brain goes into higher concentration because it's a question raised by me, so I'm looking for it, right? Rather than passively reading, where loss of concentration is often a result of that, right? Okay, so I've done this much.